They thought I'd beg for scraps. I built my own table. My name's Devon Pike. I'm 36 years old, and for 7 years I was what they like to call senior account strategist at a boutique marketing agency in Portland. Boutique. That word always makes people think artisan coffee and sleek design. But on our side of the glass, it meant do 3 jobs for 1 paycheck. My job was simple in theory. Keep clients happy. But really it was keep them dependent. Know their product pipeline better than they did. Preempt their brand disasters before they happened. Billable hours were the lifeblood. The agency bled us dry while pretending they were family. I can still see the Google Meet call that changed everything. Vanessa, our managing partner, dialing in from her vacation house giant window behind her. Hint of ocean view she thought was subtle. She always did that little performative nod before she delivered bad news, like she cared about being fair. Team, I want to thank you all for being flexible. Given margin pressure, we're making some leaner adjustments to hours. It's not about cutting anyone, it's about being smart. I didn't say anything. I watched the Slack channel in real time. Agency lounge. Wait, whose hours? Whiff. I didn't need them to tell me. Later that afternoon, they pushed out the meeting doc. Reduction plan. My initials in red highlight next to 3 of our biggest accounts. 20 hours per month gone, which meant thousands in commission lost. No explanation. No one-on-one talk. Just a row in a spreadsheet. We'd onboarded 2 interns last month, though. Funny how that budget appeared. I remember the Slack ping from HR that landed 20 minutes after the call ended. Hey Devon, can we grab 15 minutes tomorrow? Just to check in. Check in. Corporate for get your head right. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I scrolled back up to the billing detail I'd kept on my personal drive. Line by line. Client contact calls. Renewal dates. Pain points they confessed to me in late-night Zooms. They thought cutting my hours meant I'd roll over. But they forgot one thing. Clients don't stay for the agency. They stay for the person who picks up the phone at 11 p.m. when their launch is falling apart. That night, I sat at my cheap IKEA desk, lit by a dying bulb, pulled up the spreadsheet again. I wasn't angry. I was cold. I started mapping out which clients would answer if I called from my cell. I wasn't looking for pity. I was running the numbers. Vanessa liked to call us contractors for flexibility. No health insurance. No severance. No non-compete that would actually hold up. She'd bragged about that at happy hour once. Lean and mean, she'd said, sipping her $18 cocktail. Now she'd see just how mean lean could get. If you've ever had your value questioned by someone who thought you'd just take it, hit the subscribe button. Because the plan I built wasn't revenge, it was survival. I remember double-checking the calendar invite from HR for 8 a.m. I accepted it. Polite, professional, because when they asked me tomorrow if I understood, I'd say yes. And I'd mean it, but not the way they thought. I wasn't going to fight them in that meeting. I was going to start taking them apart while they thanked me for being a team player. I didn't fight them in the meeting. That was the whole point. HR always liked to call these things touch bases, like checking for a pulse before deciding if they could bury you. I clicked the Google Calendar link exactly at 8 a.m. My screen lit up with Kayla from HR. 26, new MBA. Bright-eyed enough to think she was helping. Hey Devon, how are you feeling this morning? She used the tone you reserve for telling someone their dog died. I let her talk, nodded, unmuted only to say, sure, and I understand, because this meeting wasn't about discussing options. It was a corporate formality, covering their ass, evidence that they'd communicated the change. She pulled up the reduction plan doc on screen share. Rows and rows of initials, mine in red. She tried to explain it like I was new. So, these hours are being reallocated for efficiency. It's not about you. It's about agency sustainability. We value your contribution so much. I watched the cursor highlight the 20-hour cut. 800 monthly commission loss. I get it, I said. She looked relieved. Kayla didn't know me. She didn't know I'd spent half the night spreadsheeting every billing line and client contact detail on my personal drive. When she ended the call, she wished me a good weekend. I smiled, said, you too. I closed the window. Saturday back. Looked at the Slack ping still sitting unread. Staff lounge. Did you get cut too? I think half the team did. They can't be serious. Of course they were serious. You don't make cuts like that unless you're betting your staff will stay anyway. They were counting on our fear. Bills, health insurance we didn't even get because we were contractors. Rent in a city that didn't care about our dreams. They'd been buying our silence with insecurity. And for most people it would work. That's the part that always fascinated me. Not the betrayal. That was predictable. But the assumption that we'd be too polite to do anything. Too professional. I opened my spreadsheet, my private file, client names, call notes, renewal dates, pain points they never told Vanessa or the partners, because they told me. I highlighted one account in particular, $900,000 annually. My commissions from that alone were bigger than Vanessa's new intern budget. They thought they could cut my hours and keep that client loyal. I scrolled to the compliance tab I'd built months earlier. Contractor status. No non compete. They'd bragged about being flexible. No HR red tape. Lean. They loved that word. Lean meant they saved money on me. Lean meant they couldn't stop me if I left. I sat there, in my crummy rented studio, listening to the neighbor's dog bark through the walls. Not angry, not sad, just awake. They had given me the perfect reason to stop being loyal. Clients don't stay for the brand. They stay for the person who picks up the phone at 11 p.m. when they're in meltdown. I made a new tab in my spreadsheet. Potential outreach plan. Not today. Not tomorrow. But soon. I wasn't going to threaten them. Wasn't going to tell them I was leaving. Wasn't going to argue about my worth in a 15-minute HR check-in. I was going to make sure they didn't see it coming. I'd say, thank you, at the Monday stand-up. Then I'd quietly start removing their foundation one client at a time. They wanted a team player. So I played. Monday's stand-up call was as fake as the agency's values page. Vanessa, managing partner, smiled too wide for a webcam. Everyone ready to realign and move forward? That word realign meant, shut up and take the cut. I clicked, join, camera on, muted, professional. I watched faces in grid view. Half of us had been marked with those red highlight hours last week. Everyone knew it, but no one said it. Vanessa did our best pep talk. These are strategic reductions so we can stay agile and protect the team as a whole. She even dropped, we're family, at one point. Like any of us had seen a bonus since they landed the big real estate account 2 years ago. HR sat in the call too, silent but present, documenting who pushed back. When it was my turn to speak, I did exactly what they wanted. Sounds clear. I'm happy to support the transition. Slack lead up, staff lounge, Jesus Devon lol. Company man. They didn't understand. Kayla from HR sent me a smile emoji in DMs. Thanks for being understanding. Of course. She had no idea that agreeing gave me cover. It's funny how compliance works both ways. They wanted me on record accepting the hours cut. They got it. But now they couldn't claim I was being difficult. Couldn't accelerate any disciplinary offboarding. Couldn't block access to client info. I was still on their Slack, their project boards, their CRM. I spent the next hour quietly downloading key contact sheets. I labeled them innocuously. QDO, client, outreach, plan. They called it a team transition. But it was me transitioning them out of the conversation. I wasn't stealing anything. I was just ensuring I'd have the same access to my work that they had already decided to discount. Vanessa thanked me at the end of the call. Her voice warm, managerial, like she was petting a dog that had finally sat. We really appreciate your professionalism here, Devon. Sure, professionalism. They love that word because it means don't make us uncomfortable. After the meeting ended, I pulled up my personal billing spreadsheet again, highlighted 3 accounts in green, clients I knew personally, the ones who texted me directly on weekends, the ones who vented about scope creep and late invoices. They weren't loyal to Vanessa, or Kayla, or the interns they just onboarded to replace my hours. They were loyal to whoever made them feel heard. That was always me. If you've ever smiled in a meeting while planning your exit strategy, hit that subscribe button. Because what I did next was so polite they didn't even notice it happening. I sat there in silence, Slack pinging in the background, people complaining, panicking, plotting resumes. I wasn't going anywhere. Not yet, because the best way to kill trust is from the inside. I started booking catch-up calls with every client they cut my hours from, off the agency clock, just to check in. They thought saying thank you would make me stop planning. After the Monday stand-up, the agency went back to pretending everything was fine. Slack channels full of memes about burnout, passive-aggressive reminders to log your reduced hours accurately. I complied, logged every reduced hour, marked them cleanly for accounting. But that's all they got from me. Outside of their billing system, I started scheduling my own time. I used Google Calendar to set up catch-up calls with the 3 clients they'd slashed my hours for. No agency billing code, no paper trail on their side. Technically, nothing in my contractor agreement said I couldn't talk to them off the clock. They never paid for my off hours anyway. I kept it casual. Hey, figured we haven't chatted in a while. Want to sync this week? Just off the record, no billable. Nobody turned me down. They were all polite at first, grateful even. Marketing managers with too many approvals to get, too few people they trusted. I didn't sell them anything, didn't mention the agency once. I just listened. It's remarkable how quickly people open up when you're not charging them by the hour. I'd ask, how's the new packaging rollout? How's Q3 looking? Simple. Human. Not in a Slack channel with 3 interns copied in. They told me everything. Vendor delays, budget reallocations, internal fights about who owned brand strategy. The kinds of details that let me see their stress lines before they cracked. I took notes. Not on the agency laptop. On my own. A spiral-bound notebook I kept by my bed. Messy handwriting. Client names in caps. Pain points underlined twice. The agency loved calling us partners, but they didn't know any of this. Because they'd cut the hours that bought those confessions. Lean and mean. That was Vanessa's phrase. She meant cutthroat, but what she really made was vulnerable. Between calls, I kept Slack status green, pretended to be writing copy, DM'd the interns with feedback so no one asked questions. They thought they'd gamed the system, cut hours to save budget, replace experience with volume. They didn't realize the system was me. Every time I heard, "I'm so glad you reached out," I made a mental note, a check mark in the easy-to-convert column. No, NDA stopped me. No non compete. They hadn't paid for that level of loyalty. Professionalism, Vanessa would say. It's our differentiator. Sure, I was being very professional. That week, I scheduled 6 of these calls. 3 old clients, 2 mid-size accounts they had dreams of upselling. 1 giant I knew was unhappy for months. Each call was friendly, gentle, no selling, just trust. I told them I was here if they needed anything, and they believed me, because they knew me, not the agency. If you ever want to chat more off hours, let me know. Happy to help. I logged off each call with a smile. Muted, alone in my apartment, listening to the heater rattle, watching Slack stay quiet. Everyone thought I was finally on board. They had no idea. Next week, one of them would ask me what it would look like to work with me directly, and I'd already have the answer. They didn't ask me if I was available. They asked if I was free. It started with a single line in an email. Subject, quick question, from one of the big accounts, the one that had quietly tolerated the interns fumbling deliverables since they cut my hours. I opened it on my personal laptop. No agency VPN. No monitoring. Hey Devon random, but would you have time to discuss something off hours this week? They didn't CC the agency account manager. Didn't mention Vanessa or the team. Just me. I read it twice. Then once more. Not because I was surprised, but because I wanted to savor it. I'd been planning for this moment since the reduction plan call. When you're a strategist, you don't force trust. You make space for it to come to you. They'd already vented to me about billing frustrations, about project scope changes, about the agency's lean approach that meant more work on their side. All I had to do was shut up long enough for them to realize they wanted out. I wrote back calmly, happy to chat anytime. Let me know what works for you. No desperation. No proposal. No mention of rates. I wanted them to be the one asking. Because once they did, it wasn't poaching. It was partnership. The call was scheduled for Thursday night. Off hours. No agency Zoom link. Just a direct Google Meet invite to my personal email. When I joined, the marketing director looked exhausted. Gray circles under his eyes. Bottle of water. No branding. Casual polo instead of the suit he wore for agency calls. He didn't bother with small talk. Devon, can I be honest? I just nodded. We're getting killed here. Turnaround times are garbage. I'm having to rewrite briefs the interns don't get. Billing hasn't made sense in 3 months. I let him go. Didn't interrupt. Didn't defend the agency. Finally, he exhaled. I don't know if this is even possible, but Would you ever consider working directly? I paused. On purpose. Silence in sales is a weapon. Sure, I said. Flat. Professional. You have bandwidth? I do now. He laughed. Bitter. What would that even look like? I switched tabs. Opened the contract draft on my personal drive. File name. Version. Final. V2. Because I'd already had version. Final. V1 3 weeks ago. I kept my voice level. Lower overhead. Better rate flexibility. Direct accountability. No middle approvals. You get me when you need me. He nodded slowly. Didn't say yes. Didn't say no. But he didn't end the call. He wanted to feel like he was making the smart choice. Not being sold to. Just seeing the inevitable. When we wrapped, he said, "Can you send over a rough idea of your rate?" I said I'd think about it. But the spreadsheet with my private rate tiers was already open. Cells highlighted green for high-value prospects. After I hung up, I sat in the dark for a moment. Heater clicking in the corner. Slack notifications pinging from the agency laptop I'd muted. They didn't even know I was gone. They cut my hours, called me dead weight, and left me alone with the people who actually paid them. I closed the contract file. Updated the client's status in my spreadsheet to hot lead. They wanted me loyal. They should have paid for it. My heart rate didn't change. I wasn't excited. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just efficient. By the time they realized what I was doing, it would already be too late to stop me. They asked me for a number. I gave them math. After that late-night call, I didn't celebrate. I didn't even smile. I closed my laptop, finished the cheap beer I'd left sweating on the table, and reopened the spreadsheet I'd built weeks before. Rate sheet. Personal. Green highlighted cells. Notes about each client's budget. Their internal fiscal year cycles. Approval thresholds I'd gleaned from 100 polite coffees. The agency treated these people like ATM machines. Billable hours in, invoices out. No finesse. No loyalty. But I'd sat across from them in conference rooms with broken HVAC. Heard them complain about being nickeled and dimed. Watched them sweat when the CMO wanted a new campaign without adding budget. That's where I came in. I wasn't going to send them a sales deck. I was going to offer them certainty. I drafted the email at 2 a.m. Subject: follow up on our chat. Hey, appreciate you taking the time to talk. Attached is a rough outline of how I'd approach a direct engagement. Scope is flexible. Rates reflect the absence of agency overhead while maintaining senior-level strategy. Let me know thoughts. I attached the PDF. Kept it clean. My name at the top in Helvetica. 2-tier. Monthly retainer, no hourly surprises. A la carte project, pricing still cheaper than agency rates by 20%. It wasn't a discount. It was a correction. They'd cut my hours to save money while billing the client the same. Now I was giving the client the difference. I sat back, reread it twice, deleted any line that sounded like begging. I wasn't offering a favor. I was offering terms. If you've ever had to build your own safety net because the people above you cut it away, hit that subscribe button. You'll want to hear how this ends. I hit send. Watched it leave. Felt nothing. My phone buzzed half an hour later. A Slack message. Agency channel. Vanessa reminding everyone to push renewals this month. I didn't even react. They had no idea the client they were counting on had just asked me for a private rate sheet. I opened my contract template. Version. Final. V2. Ironically, there was no non-compete clause. I didn't need one, because they'd never forced me to sign one. Cost savings. Lean. I customized it for this client. Scope of work. Brand strategy. Campaign management. Billing terms. Net 15. Termination clause. Mutual. 30 day. Professional. Short. Ironclad. Because if they said yes, I wanted to make sure there was no turning back. It's not that I hated the agency. I just understood it better than they did. They didn't realize how fragile loyalty is when you treat it like a line item. When I was done, I exported the final PDF, saved it, client name, contract, draft, V1, ready to go the moment they asked. I closed the file, checked the time, 3:11 a.m. Slack was still open, status green, just in case anyone checked. They were sleeping, assuming I'd accepted my new lean reality. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was careful. By the time they checked the CRM and realized who I was talking to, they'd be reading my name on the signed contract. By the time they noticed my hours were gone, I'd already sold them twice. I woke up to the subject line, ready to move forward. No agency branding. No CC to the account manager. No passive-aggressive legal signature line about agency of record. Just a direct email to me. Appreciate the proposal. Looks good. Can you send over the formal contract to sign? Want to get this rolling by next week. I read it once, then closed it, stared at my screen, not smiling, not satisfied, just confirming. Because that was the point. It was over the moment they asked me for my rate. This was just paperwork. I reopened my folder. My clients. Not agency clients. Not shared accounts. Mine. Inside. Rate sheet PDF. Customized scope of work. Contract template labeled version. Final. V2. I updated the client's name in the header. Checked the payment terms. Net 15. Direct deposit only. No agency overhead. No bullshit operational fee. I saved it. Signed. Client name. Agreement. PDF. I attached it to a new email. Simple subject line. Contract attached. Body was 3 sentences. Professional. Dry. Clear. Please review and countersign when ready. Once returned, I'll schedule our initial kickoff and get you onboarded to my private project dashboard. They replied within an hour. Signed PDF attached. No negotiation. No scope creep. No, we'll see. Just signed. I sat back, looked at the agency Slack on my other monitor. Unopened. Unread. They were too busy planning the quarterly strategy meeting to notice I just severed their artery. Because here's the thing about these clients. They don't want a vendor. They want a person. Someone they know. Who remembers the launch schedule. Who knows the internal politics. Someone who doesn't need to be sold on a 15-slide deck every time the logo changes. I checked my spreadsheet. Marked the client as signed. Payment pending. Onboarding scheduled. Their CRM still had me listed as lead strategist. Their Slack channel still tagged me on deliverable threads. But in my system, they were mine. I muted the agency channels. Watched my inbox for the payment confirmation. This wasn't personal. It was structural. They built a system that counted on loyalty, without paying for it. They assumed cutting my hours wouldn't cut theirs. They thought I'd beg for scraps. I built my own table. I opened my personal billing template. Updated the line item. Retainer fee confirmed. Scope finalized. Payment schedule entered. I wasn't improvising anymore. I was executing. If they asked why I did it, I'd tell them the truth. Because they made me. If you've ever seen a system rigged so well it forgot the people keeping it alive, you'll want to see what I did next. I closed the contract file. Checked the clock. Clients don't wait. And neither did I. By the end of that week, I'd have 2 more off-hours calls lined up and they didn't even see the invoices coming. One signature wasn't enough. It was just the proof of concept. The first contract sat in my folder, labeled SIGD. Neat. PDF. Initialed on every page. Their agency CRM still had me tagged as lead strategist. Their Slack thread still asked me for feedback. I let the notifications pile up, muted them. I wasn't getting paid for those hours anymore. Instead, I opened my calendar. Personal account only. Google Calendar's neat little color blocks. I liked the simplicity. Green for signed. Yellow for prospects. Red for no one yet. The new block sat there in green. Kickoff. Client name. Confirmed. But I didn't waste time staring at it. I scrolled to the other slots. 2 more marked. Catch up. Clients I'd already laid the groundwork with. One of them had sent me an email that morning. Hey, appreciate the chat last week. Can you talk Thursday? Need your thoughts on a potential campaign revamp. No mention of the agency. No CC. No pressure. Just them and me. I typed back. Thursday works. Off hours okay? They replied in 5 minutes. Off hours is better. Because off hours meant no billing code. No interns listening in. No Vanessa watching the call transcript. It was quiet. Professional. Exactly what they wanted. I pulled up my spreadsheet. Scrolled to the column marked likely conversion. Their row was already highlighted. Billing estimate. $4,500 monthly retainer. $750 per project add-on. No agency cut. Just mine. It wasn't greed. It was precision. They'd taught me how to sell value. I was just collecting the commission they refused to pay. The second prospect had been slower. More cautious. But that morning I got their reply too. Hey Devon, saw your note. I think we should talk about strategy gaps. Free this week? That was all I needed. One reply, one opening. Because I wasn't selling them anything. I was listening. I clicked, create event. Named it catch-up call. Off hours. Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Agency didn't know. Didn't check. They were too busy reminding everyone to be collaborative in Slack. I'd seen Vanessa post in number announcements that morning. Let's all make sure we're supporting the interns while they learn. Remember, we're a team. Sure, we were a team. They just forgot who built the playbook. Because here's the part no one liked to admit. Agencies don't own clients. People do. I wasn't taking anything they valued. They'd already thrown it away. I opened the signed contract again, checked the payment schedule, confirmed the kickoff date, then minimized it. Because one contract didn't matter. Not really. It was the first domino. I needed the second. The third. Enough that the agency couldn't patch the hole before it sank them. They thought cutting my hours would save money. I was about to show them how expensive I could get. I set a reminder in my personal calendar. Send second-rate sheet. Prepare customized scope for third prospect. I wasn't improvising anymore. I was implementing. Slack pinged again. Agency teammate asking if I could hop on a brainstorm. I didn't even open it. My hours were cut, remember? Thursday was coming. 2 more calls lined up. And this time, I wouldn't even have to ask if they were ready to move. Thursday wasn't negotiation. It was harvest. I'd marked the day in my personal calendar with 2 green blocks. Catch-up call, client 2. Catch-up call, client 3. Agency calendar. Didn't know. Slack sure as hell didn't. They were busy prepping the Friday all-hands meeting about transparency. I wasn't interested in transparency. I was interested in leverage. First call was at 7 p.m. Off hours, by design. No interns. No project manager dialing in uninvited. Just me and the marketing director who'd first used the words scope creep 3 weeks back. When she joined, I recognized the look. Tired, frustrated, pinned between her CMO's demands and the agency's reduced hours plan. We skipped pleasantries. Devon, you know how messy this has gotten, right? I nodded. We just need clean deliverables. Less process. Fewer people in the room. I scrolled to my rate sheet as she talked. The cells I'd highlighted for her budget ceiling. I didn't pitch. I listened. Waited. Look, would you even consider handling this directly? That was the ask. The moment. No agency CC. No mandatory procurement portal. Just human. Yes, I said. Flat. Even. Can you send me what that would even look like? Already done. I sent the PDF before she even logged off. Version labeled scope. Proposal. V3 with her brand name in the header. When the call ended, I didn't pause. Second call at 8:30 p.m. Different client. Different frustrations. He started with a question. So, how locked in are you to the agency? I smirked, though he couldn't see it. Not at all. Silence on the line. Then relief. He laid it out. Billing confusion. Delayed approvals. Account manager who forgets things. I let him talk. I knew this script. I'd written half of it for them back when I was senior strategist. What would you charge? I pulled up my handwritten notes. Margin math scrawled in the margin. Lower than agency by 20%. Enough to undercut but pay myself fairly. $4,000 monthly retainer. Optional per project at $700 each. Silence. Send it, he said finally. I marked them both in my spreadsheet. Likely conversion. Pending contract. Slack pinged twice. Agency channel asking if I could jump in on an intern's copy review. I closed the window. They thought I'd beg for scraps. I built my own table. I sat back. Didn't feel guilty. Didn't feel triumphant. Just certain. They made this happen. If you've ever had to take control because no one else would value you properly, hit that subscribe button. Because you're going to want to see exactly how far I took this. The agency was still asleep. Still believing cutting my hours meant cutting my influence. But Thursday proved the truth. They never owned these relationships. I did. And the best part? I hadn't broken any rule they actually enforced. No non compete. No IP clause. Not even a warning conversation. They cut me. I cut them back. Tomorrow I'd send 2 contracts before luncheon they wouldn't even know they were signing away their revenue. Friday wasn't about convincing anyone. It was about executing. I woke up before the alarm. Cold apartment. Cheap blackout curtains letting in the hint of dawn. Laptop still open from the night before. Rate sheet. Contract drafts. Billing spreadsheet with 2 rows marked pending contract. No one at the agency knew. Their Slack channels were probably filling up with jokes about weekend plans, but I wasn't on their time anymore. First email arrived at 6. Audio Galftred Sam. Subject line. Ready to sign. No questions. No haggling. Just an attached PDF with their signature. I downloaded it, filed it in my personal folder. Signed. I had a naming convention. Client name. Signed. Agreement. V1. It felt good to keep it organized. Clean. Professional. I didn't celebrate. I opened my billing spreadsheet. Changed the status cell from pending to active. Background turned green automatically. Conditional formatting. It was efficient. Like me, I replied to the client. Received and countersigned. I'll follow up with onboarding details today. No exclamation points. No fake cheer. Just business. The second one came in at 9:11 a.m. Same subject. Ready to sign. I opened it. Same result. PDF. Signed on every page. Agency had no idea. I had both contracts saved before lunch. Payment schedules entered. Onboarding steps drafted in Google Docs. Net 15 terms. ACH transfers only. I wasn't going to chase checks. Slack pinged in the background. Muted. Someone asking me to review copy for a client I'd just signed independently. They still thought I was staff. Still thought I'd jump when they asked. But I wasn't ignoring them to be petty. I was ignoring them because they were obsolete. I took a moment to look at my billing spreadsheet. Rows stacking up. Green highlights. Clean formatting. Agency couldn't see it. Didn't even know I kept it. They'd built a system that treated relationships like cost centers. I turned them back into revenue. For me, that's what they taught me after all. Always maximize billable. Always protect margin. I was just doing it better than they ever could. I checked my inbox. One of the clients had already sent a follow-up. Can we get your onboarding plan today? Want to hit the ground running Monday? I typed back immediately. Absolutely. I'll have it by end of day. No project manager to route it through. No intern to proofread. Number 12-step approval. Just me and them. I opened a new Google Doc. Scope of work. Communication expectations. Billing schedule. Cancellation policy. Professional. Short. Bulletproof. Agency would have charged them twice as much and delivered it 2 weeks late. While I worked, I checked Slack one last time. A thread in project updates. Anyone have the latest on Client 2 deliverables? Devon, you on this? I closed it. They didn't know they were asking for work from someone who'd just signed that client independently. It wasn't personal. It was structural. They cut my hours. They made me this. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was doing what they trained me to do. Protect margin. Maximize billable. Own the relationship. They just never thought I'd apply it to myself. Monday would be their first clue something was wrong because I wouldn't be there to help them fix it. Monday was when the silence got loud. I logged in early. Not to Slack. Not to the agency's Asana board. But to my personal billing spreadsheet. 2 rows newly marked paid. ACH confirmations waiting in my email. Green cells. Automated formatting. Little bursts of approval I didn't need to ask for. Meanwhile, the agency Slack was vibrating. Project updates. Devon, can you weigh in here? Devon, did you see my DM? Need your eyes on this copy today if possible. I scrolled once. Didn't reply. They had cut my hours to save money. Now they were paying for my silence and deliverables they couldn't finish. I kept my status green. Corporate camouflage. Let them think I was heads down. Truth was, I wasn't even on their time anymore. My inbox was different. Appreciate the quick turnaround. Excited to start this. We processed payment today. Polite. Professional. Direct. Clients who didn't CC. The agency account manager. Didn't add me to 3 layers of approval. Just wanted the work. And they got it. Same day, same quality. Fewer people to screw it up. I opened one of the signed contracts. Reviewed the scope. Adjusted the timeline to what I could realistically deliver alone. No interns to delegate to. No one to hide behind. Just me. It felt clean. Back in Slack, things were getting more desperate. Anyone have latest on Client 2 revisions? We're late on Client 3's deliverable. Devon? Hello? Vanessa wants everyone on stand-up in 10. I didn't join. I watched them talk about me like I wasn't there. Because I wasn't. Not really. I remembered how Vanessa smiled in the reduction plan meeting. We're realigning hours for efficiency. As if my rent would realign itself. As if the clients would just wait politely for the interns to learn. I remembered Kayla from HR telling me, it's not personal, it's structural. She'd meant it kindly, sincerely, but they never realized it was the truth. It wasn't personal. It was structural. Their structure was broken. They taught me to find margin, to sell value, to own the relationship. I just took the lesson more seriously than they did. They cut my hours. I cut their billing. I wasn't even angry anymore. Just busy. I toggled back to my spreadsheet, updated status columns to onboarding in progress, entered first deliverable dates, everything color-coded, efficient, predictable, because they'd taught me to hate surprises. Meanwhile, my agency inbox pinged. Subject, urgent, client feedback needed today. I didn't even open it. I knew what it was. Scrambling, trying to prove to the client they were still valuable. But the client was already signed with me. Already paid. They were sending urgent emails for work they didn't own anymore. I clicked over to my contracts folder. Signed. 3 PDF files. Initialed on every page. Scope clear. Payment confirmed. The agency couldn't even see the blood loss. They'd built no system to track loyalty. Only billable hours. And I had none left to give them. They thought I'd beg for scraps. I built my own table. I sat back. Watched Slack fill with increasingly desperate messages. Vanessa asking for stand-up times. Colleagues confused why I was quiet. I wasn't quiet. I was working, just not for them. They taught me to watch for churn risk, to see the signs a client was leaving before they said it. And now they couldn't see it happening in their own staff, because they didn't want to. By the time they realized what was happening, I wouldn't even need to explain it. The invoices would. They didn't find out from me. They found out from the invoices. By Monday afternoon, the agency Slack had gone from confusion to full-blown meltdown. I watched it happen in real time. Muted, status green, message piling up. Anyone heard from client number 2? They're not replying. Client number 3 canceled the review call. What's going on, Devon? Vanessa finally pinged me directly. Hey, can you jump on a quick call? No subject. No emoji. Just fear. I didn't answer, because by then the clients had already sent their formal transition emails. We'll be moving our strategy work direct with Devon Pike. Please forward any remaining assets for our records. Professional. Polite. Lethal. I didn't ghost anyone. I was on calls that whole day, but not with them. I was onboarding. Sending welcome emails. Confirming deliverables. Finalizing scopes. Every time I marked an invoice paid in my personal spreadsheet, I felt nothing. No glee. No rage. Just closure. They taught me this system. How to spot churn risk. How to protect margin. How to keep clients close enough to feel loyalty, but far enough to stay billable. They never realized I learned too well. Their Slack had a new thread by 3 p.m. Emergency meeting. All staff please join immediately. Bring updates on all client statuses. We have an urgent retention problem. Retention problem. I almost laughed. They didn't have a retention problem. They had a recognition problem. They didn't recognize value when it was right in front of them. Mine. The clients. Even their own credibility. They cut my hours to save pennies. Now they were losing thousands. I got an email on my personal account. Vanessa. Subject. Can we talk today? No formal tone. No command. Just ask. I archived it without opening. Because, what would I say? This was structural, remember? Kayla from HR had been so gentle about it. So professional. It's not personal. That line stuck with me. They made it not personal. They made it math. So I made it math back. I didn't want to hurt them. I wanted to survive them. Because I'd heard Vanessa that day say, we need to cut the fat. I was the fat. Fat doesn't fight back. It just gets cut. Except, I wasn't fat. I was muscle they didn't understand. Connection they couldn't quantify. So I quantified it for them. Slack turned into blame. Why didn't anyone flag this sooner? Devon didn't say anything. Who's accountable here? I watched. Muted. They were asking each other who lost the clients. They never asked who kept them this long. They taught me every trick I used on them. They just forgot to teach loyalty. And I don't regret it. They thought I'd beg for scraps. I built my own table, because I know they'll replace me. They'll hire someone cheaper, younger, hungrier, but they won't replace what I took with me. Relationships, trust, memory. That's the part they'll never discount. I sat back, checked my inbox. 3 new payments, all confirmed. If you've ever watched a company pretend you were replaceable while you held the whole thing together in silence, if you know what it's like to be cut while they ask you to train your replacement, if you've ever had to carve out your own table because no one would give you a seat, then you'll understand why I did it. If you've been there, if you see yourself in this story, hit that subscribe button. I'm telling these stories because too many of us were told to just take it. And this isn't even the part where they tried to threaten legal. That comes next. When the money stopped bleeding, they tried to make it about principle. By Tuesday morning, they'd finally realized it wasn't just a blip. It was structural failure. Clients gone, invoices evaporated, quarterly forecast burning on the dashboard. That's when the email came. Subject: regarding your activities. No greeting, no small talk, just attached PDF on agency letterhead. I opened it slowly, let the legal threat sit on the screen. We are concerned you may have breached your contractual obligations by soliciting agency clients. I read every word, twice. No panic, no sweat, because I'd read something else before. My original contractor agreement, the one they made me sign when they onboarded me as cost-efficient flexible labor. I had it open in another window. Section 7.4. Contractor is an independent professional. Nothing herein shall restrict contractor from providing services to other clients during or after the term of this agreement. No non compete. No exclusivity. No intellectual property assignment for strategy frameworks. They saved money skipping the lawyer who'd have flagged that. Lean and mean. I highlighted it, copied it, pasted it into a reply. Vanessa, please see Section 7.4 of our agreement. I have acted entirely within my rights as an independent contractor. Best, Devon. No apology, no explanation, just the clause. They hadn't paid for loyalty. They hadn't even paid for control. They'd paid for hours, and they cut them. I archived their threat. After sending, Slack exploded. Screenshots got forwarded to me by sympathetic ex-colleagues. He's replying with the contract. HR's asking if they can even enforce this. Did no one check the original terms? They didn't want me back. They just wanted me to stop winning. But it was too late. My spreadsheet was open in another tab. 5 clients marked paid. 2 in onboarding. Scope documents signed. All with my name, not theirs. They couldn't claw it back. No NDA. No IP assignment. Nothing. Because they hadn't valued the work enough to protect it. Or me. They thought I was replaceable. So I replaced them. I remember sitting in the reduction plan meeting. Kayla from HR with that soft, careful voice. We want to be transparent about these cuts. It's not personal, Devon. It's structural. She said it like it was a kindness, as if saying it softly would make it better. I believed her, that it wasn't personal, but they made sure it became personal when they humiliated me, when they treated my hours like they didn't matter, when they put interns in charge of my work and called it lean. So I learned. I adapted. I survived. Not with rage. Not with sabotage. Just with better strategy. Because if they thought they were the only ones allowed to cut costs, they didn't understand me at all. They thought I'd beg for scraps. I built my own table. Their final email that day had a new subject line. Request for clarification. Softer. Less threat. More plea. I didn't open it. Didn't need to. I knew what it would say. Please explain. Help us understand. Can we talk? But the time to talk was before they cut me out of the budget. Now I just sat there, billing clients directly, sending them real timelines, answering their questions myself. And I felt nothing. No triumph. No regret. Just quiet certainty. Because the truth was, I didn't want to ruin them. I just wanted them to see me. And they never did. But even I didn't expect how public their collapse would get. That came next. Their meltdown didn't stay private. Nothing ever does in this business. It started with a LinkedIn post. One of the clients I'd signed independently. A short, polite announcement. Excited to partner directly with Devon Pike for our brand strategy work. Looking forward to a streamlined, personal approach. No mention of the agency. No bitterness. Just a line in the sand. By that afternoon, there were 3 more. Different companies. Different marketing directors. All variations of the same message. We chose him. I didn't like the posts. Didn't comment. Didn't share. I just archived the screenshots in a folder labeled Public Confirmations, because I knew the agency leadership would see them too. Everyone did. That's how this industry works. Vanessa's Slack channel must have been unreadable. Ex-colleagues sent me snippets. Anyone have a crisis plan for this? We're losing credibility. Stop the staff from commenting publicly. They couldn't spin it, because they'd sold their clients on personal connection and senior strategy, then tried to deliver it with interns and buzzwords. And I was me. No brand voice guidelines. No corporate promises. Just my own name. And results. It wasn't about being cheaper. It was about being real. Buying present. They never understood that. My billing spreadsheet had 6 rows marked paid, 2 more marked pending. Clean. Green. Simple. Meanwhile, agency leadership sent a final email to me. Subject: professional courtesy request. They didn't threaten legal this time. They asked, please consider pausing outreach to our client list as we try to stabilize. I didn't reply, because they still thought they owned something. They didn't. Not anymore. I kept their old contract in a folder called Old Agency. PDF. Highlighted clause about independence. I'd memorized it by then. Contractor is an independent professional. Nothing herein shall restrict contractor from providing services to other clients. They saved on lawyers. Saved on loyalty. Cut my hours. Now they were cutting staff. Because when clients leave, so do budgets. And when budgets go, so do jobs. It wasn't revenge. Not exactly. It was accountability. I didn't celebrate. Didn't toast the collapse. But I didn't mourn it either. They taught me how to watch for churn. How to plan for risk. How to protect margin. And they forgot to do it themselves. I watched it unfold on LinkedIn. Agency went quiet. No hiring posts. No proud client announcements. Just silence. People in the industry reached out to me privately. Ballsy move. Can you take us on? Honestly, good for you. I kept my answers short. Professional. Polite. Because I didn't need to brag. The invoices spoke for themselves. The signed scopes. The paid retainers. And the empty chairs in their office. They thought I'd beg for scraps. I built my own table. I kept a folder on my drive of thank you emails from clients. Screenshots of LinkedIn endorsements. A personal reminder. Not that I beat them, but that I proved I didn't need them. Because here's the truth. I would have stayed. I would have been loyal if they just treated me like I mattered. But they didn't. So I learned to do it myself. That's the part they'll never get back. If you've ever sat in a meeting where they called you redundant, if you've been told it's not personal while they cut your livelihood, if you've had to carve out your own space because no one would give you one, then you know why I did it. And if you see yourself in my story, if you want more of these no bullshit, real-life reckonings, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Because I'll keep telling them. For everyone who's been told they're replaceable, I didn't burn their bridge. I just walked away and let them watch it collapse.